All right, you guys, what's going on? This is your boy Town Biz. So I thought I'd do a little boxing talk. Boxing is starting to heat up again. We 2 weeks and some change out from the big fight. Been a lot of announcements. In the past week with Tank participating in a circus fight with Jake Paul. And of course, you got the big one itself, and then you got some possible fights, and then you got, as usual, dudes not staying on code, and once again, being inconsistent. So, all right, so we're gonna start with Jermell Charlo. So Jermell Charlo basically put up all these, memes and everything, and these pictures of, he the lion. I don't think he's much of a lion. I think he's more the lion that don't have like all the hair around him and all that stuff, whatever you want to call it. Just not gonna lie to you, I'm not a big fan of Jermell Charlo for just a lot of different reasons. Neither one of the Charlo brothers. I think they're a bunch of cornball ass lames, both of them. Yeah, I said it. Based off just, history with them, how they act towards certain media, But to me, he's been out of sight, out of mind. I'm gonna be honest with you, nobody has really been thinking about the dude and just, talking about him. Because basically he doesn't do nothing for, the common boxing fan. Or, even just boxing in general. He doesn't do nothing for the casual, common, diehard. He just a dude that you really don't talk about him unless you have to talk about him. I feel like this was, stream worthy. I didn't want to do a video. I just decided to go live and speak on this. Now, he put up all these emojis and stuff and these, pictures, saying it, putting, utilizing a lot of symbolism, using a lion, wanting to bite it into a shark, then, Timberland boot with an eagle sign, and then basically a stuff, and then a giraffe, I guess. He's talking about fighting all these dudes. The thing is with him, he had such a god-awful performance versus, Canelo, where he just literally just basically just laid down. He didn't even put 1/4 an effort. Then he's sitting up there yelling, "I'll do this for the culture," the one they don't talk about, and we still trying to figure out what culture. Like I said, him and his brother is two of the most unlikable people you would ever want to align yourself around. Once you get around them, you just instantly want to go another direction. The thing is, they think just because they have their lips poked out and be mugging, they think that somebody be scared of them and stuff. And at the end of the day, once he threatened, my guy Blue Blood, talking about he gonna slap him and all that kind of stuff, like, just lame. And at the end of the day, like I keep saying with you boxers and stuff, what makes you think we ain't affiliated with anybody? What makes you think that you would slap us and that would be the end all be all? And for him to say that just showed his ignorance. But this is what these fighters do. They don't threaten. They don't threaten media that don't look like them. They want to get all huff and puff and tough with, media that look like them or that share melanin with them. That's melanated. That's the only time they choose to get tough. The thing is, he's saying now that he want to fight, Spence. My thing is, what, you want to fight Errol Spence like right now, immediately? Listen, at the end of the day, Errol Spence still haven't really announced an official return. He hasn't announced the official return to the league, really. doesn't have a projected, return date. Keep in mind, Errol Spence hasn't fought in 2 years. We don't know how Errol Spence is as a fighter right now. Errol Spence was doing other things. And then here's the thing. Is that considered a pay-per-view fight? Would that be a pay-per-view fight? See, here's the thing. They tried to put Charlo and they tried to promote him as, as a potential pay-per-view star. And he had that god-awful pay-per-view that didn't even, terrible to where they was. And then here's the thing, this is a dude that was at one time undisputed, and basically when he became undisputed, he fought at an arena that was basically at capacity, only could hold around 8,000 people, and they still had to give away tickets. They let people come watch that fight for free because the fight is sold so poorly. Imagine having to watch a championship match in a tennis arena at capacity that holds around 8,000 or 9,000 people. That don't even hold, that whole, what I'm saying? Pretty much a single digit, small compact. He might as well have fought in a ballroom or a conference room. Might as well. Luckily, they happened to have been a game going on, and the bigger arena, and the bigger stadium, and they basically told people, hey, just go find a seat. That's how poorly he sold. So the thing is with him, he doesn't have any negotiating power. Even though he's a belt holder, he doesn't have a leg to stand on as far as negotiations, because people can say, hey, this guy can't even sell tickets. Because of one, his personality. He's saying he want to fight all these dudes. Like I said, that Canelo fight was a big step backwards for him. It was a big step backwards. It was a piss poor performance. He didn't even really try in that fight. He basically was in survival mode the whole time. Now he's saying he want to fight all these dudes. When Terrence Crawford was saying, hey, I'm interested in fighting him. Either he was injured or whatever the case may be. He was talking about he was busy. He got other fights to tend to, and you haven't seen that dude in a while. For whatever the case may be, you haven't seen Charlo in a while. He has no negotiating power because of various different reasons. He probably one of the very few champions, and I don't know what belt he currently holds because I haven't really been checking for him. He probably one of the very few champions that has no negotiation power, and they're all but a pretty much a B-side when it pertains to, potential opponents. If he was to fight Boots, he would probably be the B-side. Boots would probably be going to the fighter's A side. Say what you want to say about Boots, but Boots can, he can sell tickets. He does very well on the East Coast. He's probably going to sell, 13, 14, 15,000 tickets in Philly. So he has drawing power where Charlo doesn't. And he's lined up this so-called hit list. I'm just saying people ain't really been checking for the dude. Like I said, I get it now. I get it now. You saying now you'll fight Errol Spence, but at one time you were saying you'll never fight him. Now, another thing that I want to talk about is, I'm gonna say this again. one thing that annoys me so much to the point you just like, wow. You just like, for real, you just want to take out a, just want to take out a hammer and just start busting in the air is, like I said, inconsistency. Now, rumor has it that Lamont Roach may take legal action against Tank Davis. Now, this is just a rumor. This hasn't been proven for basically, I guess it must be breach of contract, because I guess they had a rematch clause, and as you guys know, he's electing to fight Jake Paul. I don't want to hear this stuff about, well, it's a no-brainer, 200 million, like with Floyd Coonfield. Floyd Coonfield is another goofball. That man ain't about to make no $200 million, so stop it. Tank ain't making no, that ain't no $200 million fight. Like, dude, stop it. But that's why I don't mess with dudes like him, because they always but I thought they said that they out to fight the best, but you basically telling Tank to go fight Jake Paul in a meaningless exhibition match that ain't gonna do nothing for his career. At the end of the day, I mean, Tank said, I mean, the audio and the video resurfaced to him saying that he don't care about bills. He just want to make his paper. I guess the days of having the Michael Jordan mentality is over. To be honest with you, Michael Jordan should have made $1 billion, or at least 500, at least close to $1 billion. Like he did start playing in 1984. So he started playing, basically 41 years ago. So that is a different time. The money wasn't there like it is now. But at the end of the day, Michael Jordan thrived to be a competitor, thrived to win. And that's one thing that you can't take away from Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was shamefully underpaid as a player. And that's fact. But here's the thing, Michael Jordan won. He built the legacy. And the money eventually came, because guess what? Michael Jordan worth $3 billion. He's a billionaire. It's worth $3 billion. At age, I think Michael Jordan is 60, 62, 63, something like that. So, his hard work pays off. But these new dudes, they want a big lump sum of money. And they not building legacies. They not trying to be legends. See, dudes like Andre Ward, they were behind. But now this new generation, they just about to check. That's just real talk. They're really not trying to go out there and thrive to be the best. They fight good enough to where they can build up some momentum, some stature, and then hopefully it accumulates to more money. Guys like Sugar Ray Leonard, Hagler, Tyson, Lennox Lewis, those dudes were trying to build a legacy and leave a legacy behind. These new dudes, they don't care about that stuff. That's the difference. And it's sickening to a certain degree that, that's how they think. And they don't care about their fans. They don't care. They don't care about the paying customer. They don't care about nobody. And that's a problem. That's why we are where we are now as far as boxing goes. This is why a lot of people believe it's a dying sport. So you just look at these dudes, they just pathetic. They don't have no code of honor. They don't have no code of dignity. They don't have none of that stuff. This new generation, like I said, they saw. And it's being proven. Walking around wearing skirts and all that type of nail polish and wearing female looking sandals, like, man, listen, that's not swag. What it is that word that you take out the S and you put in an F. That's not swag. That's the other one. That's all it come down to. So I'm just keeping it a buck. I love boxing, but this new generation of dudes, they not really out here thriving to be the best. They don't care about the people that support them. They just don't care. They ain't about leaving a legacy. They about making X amount of money and max amount of money and this amount of money and then getting up out of there. And then when you talk about them like 20 years from now, or they name come up, you really be like, when you really think about it, and I'm telling you, 20 years from now, when people really talk about Triple G and guys like Tank, they gonna be like, they was good, but just saying. Same thing with Charlo. Like I said, this new generation of boxers, they just unlikable for the most part. A lot of them, they unlikable. I done been around them, I done interviewed them and stuff. No, they just unlikable. You know? Especially these black fighters, they just have too much of a mama's boy, titty boy, breastfeed mentality. I could just be real disrespectful towards these dudes, and I'm trying to refrain from being like extremely disrespectful, because I'm not impressed when I see these dudes huffing and puffing towards, you know what I'm saying, towards, you know, other black fighters. All they want to do, or huffing and puffing towards fans and stuff. Tank told one of his fans to shut the fuck up and be a fan because they disappointed about the Jake Paul fight. But like I said, I've been telling people about Tank. I told people about Tank. Tank was starting to show his hand years ago when they were saying, hey, you know, why don't you fight this dude? Why don't you fight that dude? You know, they protected him, and this is just real talk. People can say, oh, he would have beat the dude, but we'll never know. They protected him from, you know, Gary Russell Jr. And they carefully matched him. They carefully matched him with opponents that can make him look good. And they marketed him as a knockout artist, and it worked. You know, say what you want to say, Tank does sell tickets. But for him to do the Jake Paul thing at this point in his career, and he been saying that he was gonna retire from boxing like at 30. And like I said, a lot of these dudes be just like contradicting themselves. Like I said, Floyd Schofield be contradicting himself, talking about, oh, it's a no-brainer, 200. Like, bro, nah, it ain't no no-brainer. It's just that you don't want to fight. You don't want to fight stellar competition. And these dudes, they should just get the fuck out of boxing. You know, me, I'm 50 years old. If I'd been a boxer, I would have tried to fight everybody. I would have tried to fight the best opponents available. Win, lose, or draw. Because how do I know how good I am if I'm not fighting the best dudes out there? But these dudes now, they so scared to put their undefeated, record on the line, because they all want to try to follow the blueprint of Floyd Mayweather. Because, Floyd uses that as a security blanket. That's his, you know what I'm saying? That is his security blanket. That is the highlight of his, of his career. Is the whole, 50 men have tried, 50 men have failed. Well, actually, you didn't fight 50. Actually, you didn't fight 50 men. You fought a couple of rematches. So you really fought like, let me see, how many rematches did Floyd do? Floyd only did like, so actually you did, actually 48 men actually tried and failed. So you really didn't fight 50 different people. You fought 50 times, but you didn't fight 50 different people. But that's what a lot of these dudes try to emulate. See, that's the thing. They don't have the tenacity. They don't have what you would call, they just don't have that it factor that Floyd Mayweather had. And then Floyd Mayweather, which I'm going to talk about this in depth also, this whole thing about the bad guy thing, and that black people need to stop saying that they're the bad guy and all that kind of stuff, because people already think of black people as the bad guy, the villain, and all that kind of stuff based off how we're portrayed on television and film and in the media as a whole. Now, you just had, the funny thing is, coming off of Snoop's controversial comments about, taking his grandson to see, Buzz Lightyear, whatever the movie is, and he had to explain to his grandson, and which Snoop is catching heat for it, basically trying to explain. Then here you have one of them basically go shoot up a Catholic school. And my son is out there, so I made sure my son was okay. And he told me he was nowhere near that incident. But I'm just saying. But this, this is how people get. This is how people roll. But anyway, that was just on the side note thing, really. But getting back to boxing, as I said before, and I'm gonna close this out. As far as Jermell Charlo go, he just been out of sight, out of mind. At the end of the day, ain't nobody been thinking about him, but he is part of the wrong culture in sports. And it's not just in boxing, it's just in general. You got guys that want to be friends with each other and stuff. They want to exchange jerseys and all this kind of stuff, and which I think is weird. I just think that's weird. You want to exchange jerseys with somebody. Like, man, get out of here, man. You competing against me, man. I'm trying to beat you. I ain't trying to play golf with you in the off season. Like I said, on the court or the baseball diamond or basically the football field, we enemies. We enemies. We not friends. We can be friends after our careers are over. And that's the difference between this generation, and I get it now. Charlo appears to be off that kick. But the thing is, too little, too late, possibly. Because you in your 30s, you like 34 now? Then not to mention the other stuff you've been involved in that your name is attached to. Like I said before, you don't really have much of a bargaining chip. And then due to the fact that you can't sell tickets, you may be a belt holder, but you going into a fight, possibly depending on who it is, as basically the B-side. If there was some way that you would fight Virgil Ortiz down the line, yeah, you probably gonna end up being the B side. You really don't have a fan base because nobody likes you. They don't even like you in your hometown. They don't even like you in the Houston area. And that's the sad part about it. That's sad. Nobody likes you or your brother. And I got quite a few people, and I got quite a few people in Texas that be like giving me, the scoop on what's going on with you. They don't even mess with y'all in y'all own hometown though. Like I said, that's how much love you got. And then boxing as a whole really don't support you because of how y'all treat people and stuff. Somebody say, can they get an interview? They're there to do their job. Oh man, who you with? Oh, I don't mess with them. Oh, you not big enough for me to talk to. Actually, I'm doing you a favor by asking to interview you. I'm basically trying to help you build your brand and stuff. I'm basically trying to help you build the following. Because as I said before, you don't got no fans. And as far as Errol Spence go, I'm gonna say this again. Errol Spence shouldn't be. I'm gonna just be honest with you. And even Errol Spence is gonna have to keep it a buck too. All this stuff about I don't do no tune-ups and all that kind of shit. Errol gonna have to get off that kick. Errol been gone for almost. Well, it's getting close, like towards the end of the year, and it don't look like he have anything scheduled, unless an announcement is gonna come sooner than later. But it doesn't appear that Errol Spence has anything lined up, and the third quarter of the year, because we pretty much heading into September, so it doesn't look like he has anything coming up, and definitely ain't gonna have a fight schedule in September. Doesn't look like he'll have a fight schedule in October. Maybe November, maybe December, but you haven't heard any indication that Errol Spence has a set date for a ring return. So I don't even know why Charlo has him even in the equation, even bringing up that man's name. As far as Errol Spence go, Errol Spence needs to take a tune-up fight. If he decides to come back, Errol Spence needs to take a tune-up fight, and they need to find him, like I'm talking about a very minimal risk opponent. Errol Spence has reserved the right to fight. I'm talking about a super tomato can. Basically I'm talking about somebody that if they bring up, we would literally have to look up his name on Wikipedia. The man been gone for 2 years. Okay? Hasn't fought in 2 years. You've seen him off and on, but he's been gone for 2 years. So I don't even know why Charlo would even be bringing Errol Spence in the equation. Errol Spence, at the minimum, would be at least two or three fights away. Probably 3 before you would even be able to discuss fighting Errol Spence. And to sit up there and think that Errol Spence is supposed to come out of whatever, semi-retirement or wherever he's been and go into a direct fight with Charlo. Come on, man. Stop it. You got to make this stuff make sense. And like I said, he can put up all the emojis he wants. Nobody really ain't checking for Charlo. But I thought I'd give him a little bit of play, help him out since nobody don't care about him. And he had that god-awful performance versus Canelo, and then had the audacity to say he do it for the culture. And to this day, I'm still trying to figure out what fucking culture is he talking about. And once again, like I said, I have no problem with Lamont Roach suing Tank. One thing that pissed me off, I get tired of these fake ass people on social media trying to resonate and basically align, boxing with the streets. And then here's the thing, street niggas sue people. Very interesting, people had an issue with, and here's the thing, the only reason why people had an issue because it was Ryan Garcia. Like Ryan Garcia is the end all be all of boxing. I've never seen a dude finesse his way into popularity by not ever really trying to fight for a real belt. But he just built his name off social media. Okay, he did that. But at the end of the day, we all know he cheated. We all know we all know that he ain't shit without those roids, and it was proven in his last performance. And I really don't understand dudes like Cigar Talk doing interviews with Ryan Garcia, man. What do Ryan Garcia have to say? Ryan Garcia ain't even no interesting person to me. Ain't nothing fascinating about Ryan Garcia whatsoever. Now, as far as the Cigar Talk dude go, I wouldn't have did it. But that's him. And my thing is, he gonna snap at the people that's gonna say, hey man, this ain't a good look. Well, you gotta be prepared. Everybody ain't gonna congratulate you. Everybody ain't gonna celebrate what you're doing. And then you do come across as being inconsistent. You have an issue with T, and I don't want to hear this stuff about he apologized. Like I said, once you make terrorist threats towards a group of people, at the end of the day, Ryan Garcia knew what he was saying. But then again, he knew that a lot of people know that black people are gullible at times. And they know black people are forgiving towards other people except black people. And this is why black people get ridiculed and talked about in the media. And why they're everybody's punching bag. They're everybody's verbal punching bag because a lot of times they show signs of weakness or they show mental weakness. There ain't no apology in the world that will let me accept that. Once you said you want to dig up somebody's grave and delete them again, nah, that I can't let something like that slide in Devin Haney. And then Ryan had the audacity to sit up there and talk about somebody having roid rage. But as far as Quentin Rampage Jackson's son go, Roger, man, you on your own, dude. You on your own. Best wishes to you, because at the end of the day, you was sitting up there, you was supporting, you know what I'm saying, you was supporting racists. Ryan Garcia a racist. Nobody care about him hanging around black people. Nobody don't want to hear that shit about, oh, it was the drugs and all that stuff. Like, fuck your apology. And I said this and I meant every word. Everybody know what I said about Ryan Garcia. I mean it too. I mean it. That's a dude I have no desire to ever speak to. If I seen him, I would go another direction. That's just real. So, but anyway, appreciate you guys. I'll be back with more later on. It's your boy Tim. I'm out.